Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew Dracy, and I made a spectacular video last night. So happy with it. And this morning I deleted it by accident. I was so monumentally pissed. But I got to see, went to go see Oppenheimer. It's a 3-hour movie, and it was exceptional. I really recommend it. It was 3 hours with no padding, no fat that needed cut. It goes. And it's astonishing. So anyway, Protectors. This is before they were comic book stars. Protectors came out before and during the initial Image year, where Malibu published Image, and then they broke off, and they made enough money from doing Image books that they later on did other stuff like the Ultraverse. So you got Ra's al Ghul here. I couldn't resist. But the cover's by Clark Hawbaker, who would later become S. Clark Hawbaker, who is strong Neil Adams influence, like a lot of artists, especially early on, and they usually evolve a little bit. He did an 18-issue series of Nomad, which came out in the early 90s or so. It was the 1950s Cap sidekick, the 1950s Bucky, who came into the present day. Long story, he ended up taking over Nomad, the title from Steve Rogers, from way back when. So, I'm getting off course here, but I like the colors because they just they lay it all out there. It's like it's nighttime, and it's not murky. It's tricky to do this kind of stuff, but I really like what's going on here. This stuff's a little too clever, but that's like a real rookie kind of thing where you fart around with the border panels, but sometimes you get obtrusive. But yeah, Tom Dennerich's the artist. He's starting out here, and he would eventually do a lot of stuff for DC. I inked him on a 6-issue miniseries that had JLA meets the 99, which is a small press team of superheroes that are all Muslim, and it came out in 2011, I think. And yeah, I got the ink Tom, and then I guess that's Mike Diodato. How many Diodatos do you know, except for like the junior? But I did enjoy inking him, and he's inking himself now, like a lot of those self-righteous pencilers do. But you know what? That's okay, because he's doing great work. If he sucked, I would be bitter. But I'm not, because he kicks. I admire him, he's great. Colors, is this guy radioactive? I mean, I know a good way to color Club Scene is go look at the Machine Man miniseries by Herb Trimpe and Barry Windsor Smith, or Barry Windsor Smith, Storyteller, and his coloring is just phenomenal. It shows you how to do a nightclub scene. And like I said, the art is, it's not quite strong yet, but it's all there. The bodies seem to have the right proportions and weight. See, there's Image already. They're starting on Image with a bunch of stupid, shitty characters from Cyberforce that nobody ever cared about. And there's a story here. What I like is it's perfectly readable. I mean, the story itself is just okay, but it's like Tom's already figured out all the problems. I mean, and that's a big step. I used to do portfolio reviews, and it would just be heads and no backgrounds, speed lines. But I mean, this is, even if you just do one establishing shot, but I mean, there's even inside of the kitchen. I can't deprive you of this. This really rad pin-up of the Protectors done by some, 20th generation Rob Liefeld wannabe. And so, wow, I'm 4 minutes into this. I'm like dragging this shit out. Michael Golden cover. They must have blew the bank this month on getting him to do this wraparound cover of all things. And Mike Gustovich, who's involved with the Justice Machine, got to ink it. I have inker envy. The Elementals were like a pretty quick. They were like a good indie hit for a while there for Bill Willingham, who wrote and drew the series. And Justice Machine and the Thunder Agents team up But at the time, there was a bit of a dispute who owned the Thunder Agents. It just went all over the place. But I think this John Carabano or something like that, he finally came out of when the dust settled, he owned Thunder Agents. But I guess to be cautious, they just put Thunder, otherwise people would be like, what in Thunder Agents is going on? I know, there's a laugh-a-minute imitation of Barney Fife there. William Mesner Loebs, as Bill Loebs, he would go on to do this great indie book called Journey. It was about a guy, a frontiersman called Wolverine McAllister, and he drew Will Eisner style. Fantastic stuff. And then later on, he would he did Wonder Woman and some other stuff, writing. Bill Reinhold, Jeff D. Well, 1983 issue. 2 years later, they're doing the Badger. Mike Barron's Badger and Nexus were canceled from when they were part of Capital Comics, which was from Capital Distributors. So First Comics, which was already meeting some success, they picked up those 2 books, and then Bill Reinhold and Jeff D became the regular artists for a while. And Bill Reinhold also got to ink John Paul Leon on Earth X, and fantastic. So, Hamster Vice. You're probably saying, "What the blue blaze is going on?" Well, in the 80s, for any of you youngins out there was a black and white explosion of indie books, which was really great, because then black and white books, you don't have to pay for coloring. Saves you a lot of money. And if I had my head straight, I would have self-published something back then too. But I was busy at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, learning how to not screw up so much. So this is by Blackthorn Publishing. What happened is, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they had adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters, which got revived in the mid-2000s. I got to ink a few pages of my buddy Tom Ewan. It was IDW, just a brief thing. I guess it didn't take off. Well, they had Miami Mice. They did all these animal things. Miami Mice, now they did Hamster Vice. They're all trying to, get other people's attention. Get other, so maybe marketplace confusion is a good thing. So we got Doug Hazelwood inking this, and he's already tops. The penciling is a little too threadbare, and it's kind of a chore to read. It's a little too clever. It's solid, but some of the dark shadows don't work against the plain white, and then the black spotting right here. It's so random, and it just really throws off the whole balance of these pages. Storytelling is solid. That's just my main gripe is, like this page here. Okay, black, ears black, that's all I read, because that's where my eye's going, because there's no reason you couldn't have made that black maybe in that. Live and learn. But Doug's doing a great job, The penciler's good too. He just needs a few tips on this stuff. Don't know what happened to him, but hopefully he's thriving. But Hazelwood kicks ass on this, man. He got the ink burn on 18 issues of Doom Patrol around 2008 or something. I know, way too much stupid shit. This is another I got from the $2 box at what is his name? He's my best friend, Dave, from Dave's Comics. Wonder Color Comics, which is another branch off from Eternity. There's several: Adventure Comics, Eternity Comics, Wonder Comics, and I think some other one I can't recall. They're under the same umbrella. Well, look how strong that is. God, it's great stuff. And it's by a new guy named Tom Lyle, who would go on to be a superstar at DC and Marvel. He did issues of Robin, and he did a lot of other Batman-related titles. And then he did 15 issues of a Punisher series that came out in 95 or 96 or so. But we lost him recently, and that just sucks, because he's just such a good artist. I never met him. I inked a commission off of him. It was so much fun. But it's Tom Lyle, actually, I think this was a stepping stone for him to go to Eclipse, because Eclipse Comics was like the farm team for mega friggin' talents like Tim Truman, Chuck Dixon, just so many, Bo Hampton, so many great artists. that came over, Flint Henry, you name them. So, but this is a fun. I really enjoyed this, and this would sit right beside a Marvel or DC, be just fine. I'm not talking about the high end stuff like Frank Miller and Alan Moore and all that stuff. I'm just talking regular comics now. Codename Danger. I was going to cover this sometime because it only lasted like 4 or 5 issues, and they had different artists each issue. And they had a Paul Smith issue that I want to show sometime. But this is by some new guy called Kyle Baker, who would become something of a legendary creator. He did a graphic novel called Why I Hate Saturn for an imprint of DC, and his style is really interesting. Right after this, he did some inking at Marvel, but I don't think it quite matched. Like, he was inking Byrne for an Avengers Angel, and I just didn't think it worked. But when Baker got to do his own stuff on The Shadow, after it was like a year and a half, Howard Chaykin brought the book back, and then Kyle Baker took over with Andy Helfer, I think. And so, because this stuff is so contrasty, it's not like little tiny lines. It's got like real hard blacks against white, and I'm like, I love it. That's my jam, as the young people say. Nexus. I love that cover. It's by, is that David Dorman again? It might be. Yeah, I don't know. So I still got Nexus. Steve Rude left after issue 60 to. In fact, he said the letters page, I'm heading off to make money. And he did a Superman and Wonder Woman, I don't know, Superman, Batman, World's Finest miniseries. But there was a lot of great artists that, newbies, but, I mean, look at that. That's solid stuff. I mean, if you publish your own book, you would love to have an artist like this. He kept doing a lot of the covers, by the way. Not this one, but, However, that's not the whole point of this. The whole point of this is some guy named Steve Epting, the legendary Captain America and Avengers artist who co-created the Winter Soldier story that went on to be in the Marvel cinematic universe. And this is his early stuff, and it's pretty strong. I mean, I know him because we used to go, me, Butch Geis, Mike Perkins, and a couple others would go on Wednesdays with New Comic Book Day. We go get pizza, and we get some comics. Good days. Back when we were cross-gen, that is, in Florida. So, you might want to kick my ass and say, why are you showing my early stuff? But it's nothing to be ashamed about. Now, you're saying, what the blue blaze is this? It doesn't look like any superhero artist. I know of it because he's not. His name is Seth. He just goes by Seth. And he said that he came up with that name early on in his career, and it kind of stuck. And he kind of regrets it because he knew it was so pretentious back then. Now, he was doing one of those self-confessional comics that were huge in the early 90s. I mean, I don't think they made any money, but there was a big, what do you call those, autobiographical comics that told different stories. It was kind of like... well, you had Chester Brown, Gummy Fur, you had Joe Matt's Peep Show, and you had Ed Brubaker had one called Low Life, and I recommend that. I just couldn't find it in time for this video. Well, anyway, Seth was already very accomplished at the time. I mean, you could see his style. He was already amazing. He was in the advertising world for quite a while. And this was just something fun to do, I mean, who knows if he broke even on it, but really great stuff. He liked to dress up like he was in the 30s or 40s. That was like his thing. He would smoke cigarettes nonstop. Hopefully he quit. Good stuff. Now, Seth, he is the designer of those hardcover Peanuts books that were reprinted chronologically by Fantagraphics. Those beautiful, beautiful comic strips. I never dreamt in my life I would have every single Peanuts strip, and Fantagraphics came out with, what was it, 27 volumes or so, and got them all. But Seth, he was the designer of like the covers, the end papers, and parts of the inside as well, and it was a perfect marriage. So check this out sometime. It's really, really enjoyable. Beautiful art, of course. Stuff like that. Wow. Now we go to Adventure Comics, which is also a part of Malibu and all those others. I don't know what the deal was. Maybe it was a tax dodge. Just kidding, just kidding. Dave Dorman does the cover. Oh, I love it. The cover alone, the logo, I just had to check it out. And when I looked at it, I actually bought this on the stands way back when. And then I purged my collection, and then I came back and got some books that, because I was moving a lot, and staying ahead of creditors. No, I'm just putting you on. Anyway, this is noteworthy because Phil Hester and Andy Parks would go on to do a lot of Marvel and DC stuff, and then they did a very celebrated run of Green Arrow. It was relaunched with Kevin Smith writing it for a year or two, and they were the art team, and it was big doings, and they do great stuff. I kind of, it's funny. I like the limited. They have access to all kinds of colors here, but I like how they stay sober with it. It's like they don't go ridiculous with it. Here, I love the hot pinks and the reds that suggest danger around the corner. Here he goes. This guy is so fucking cool. I just love the design. I wonder if Steve Miller, the creator, came up with it, or Phil Hester did. And I don't know if it was liquid rust that he swam in. That's what it's called. How do I get it off? You don't. And he said the antidote is poisonous. But I wish I'd bring it back. However, DC came up with kind of a knockoff character that I actually inked on Birds of Prey. It was like a group of characters, and one was he was a bunch of pieces of metal stuck together. It's around issue 13 or 14 or something like that. So, but I love that so much. Now, previous episode, I had shown this issue, and it's really cool, but I didn't really go into much detail about the last strip here, done by David Mack, who ended up doing a bunch of Daredevil issues. I think he created Echo or something like that. And that's a Michael Golden image, but hey, you gotta learn. I mean, Frank Miller's early Peter Parker Spider-Man, he ripped off some Kirby panels. If you ever check it out, there's a scene where he's Daredevil swinging on a fire escape, and if you look at Fantastic Four 73, it's the same image. It's like Miller doing a Kirby panel. It's just a trip. So, so Dave's kind of feeling himself out, And he was more into imagery than to straight storytelling, which, whatever. Guardian. It was cool. I found the first issue, and then I found this, the $2 bin. I'm like, I want to collect all these because they're fun. And if I had my head straight, if I wasn't such a layabout in the mid-'80s, I could have probably self-published or worked for one of these publishers. But I was so insecure. I was my own worst enemy. Let's put it that way. Now, I don't know who the penciler is, but that's really cool. I think, it may be 100%. I don't know if it's completely anatomically correct, but maybe it is. I mean, I buy into it. I think it looks great. But I don't know where Bob Lewis went on to, but Tom Morgan, letterer, starting off as a letter, and later on he would do Captain America, he would do Iron Man with Len Kaminsky, he would do a lot of books later on, and he became one of John Romita's Raiders. Now, at the time, Marvel had an internship where John Romita would teach a whole bunch of young up-and-comer art students how to make a Marvel comic. And it was kind of like the Joe Kubert school, except it didn't cost you anything. And, Romita would be right on hand to, pick and kind of help you, kind of guide you. So Tom was learning all the disciplines because, that lettering is pretty solid. So, finally, I said that nice and phlegmy. Came out in 1978. These are great little gems to find. Oh, they're so cool. And yes, it's not just a cover, but it's printed in 78. 2-4 times a year it's published. And, I guarantee you they didn't make any money on it, but they did it for the love of comics, and they wanted to kind of, do a little flex. I hate that word. They wanted to flex their muscles to see how good they could get and maybe shoot for the big time. Dedicated to Murphy Anderson, Carmen Infantino, Gardner Fox. Instead of Adam Strange, it's Adam Blaze or Blase or whatever. I hate the name. And also, it's kind of an Adam Strange knockoff, but it's not a comedy knockoff. It's just, it is Modesty Blaze, and I think this guy may not have known who Modesty Blaze was at the time. It's fun. I mean, it's very fanboyish. It's got tight parts. It's got other parts that aren't so, but in general, it's strong. It's strong. I like that character there. However, here's where the magic starts. Some guy named Brent Anderson. The same Brent Anderson who would go on a couple years later, maybe a year or two later, and do Kazar, the monthly series. He did like 2 years of it. Then he would do a X-Men fill-in. He did an X-Men annual. He did some other stuff, bounced around. And then he did the great 1984 X-Men graphic novel, God Loves, Man Kills, with Chris Claremont. And fantastic. And I'm like, right out of the chute, he's great. I mean, I don't know how old he is. I don't really care. Strong Neil Adams influence there, but that's okay. He might have lived in New York City. Maybe he hung with them. There's a lot of people I'm learning, more and more people, that Neil Adams didn't mind having visitors and crash and learn from the master. Good stuff. Only thing is, he's working off of Jim Pakinski's layouts, so it's still good, even though it's a tad wonky, but Brent works extra hard to make it work. I love the right above the "Let You Down, Steve Never." It's like a dry brush effect. I totally dig that. I would probably use one of those Micron brush pens, but not a fresh one. I like to get them when they dry out, and you smack them around for days and days, and they're not quite as juicy, so you can get that kind of fade, that gray fade. I don't know if they had those back then, but another kind of Neil Adams rendering style. And but that's cool. And the woman says, "You bastard, good day." And she has the bottom half of her is a robot. So good stuff. I mean, this is so much fun, and I think I actually got to re-record it properly. So my voice is a little shot, and but I hope you like it. And I'm sorry I deleted it previously, but I'm not going to let it happen again. So this is your pal Drew. Please click like and subscribe, please. And if you are subscribed, hit the bell for notifications when I do new episodes. And I take no advertising here. This is just for pure fun. But if you decide to, I have 3 prose novels out called The Demands, based on a Pittsburgh indie rock band of the same name, led by a young woman named Lainey Kilburn. They play a lot of bars and clubs, but a lot of them are owned by the Russian mob. And she starts dating the son of the major mobster guy, and ugliness ensues, full of curse words and dark humor and dirty deeds and, real gritty stuff I probably wouldn't even put in a comic book. But you can always just check it out. It's free, unlimited on Kindle or paperback. So anyway, thanks for sticking around. It's 25 minutes I'm going on, and I've said this before, but if you're watching this, you're spending better part of a half hour watching my show, when there are so many options. I mean, there's Netflix, there's other stuff, tons of stuff on YouTube, other channels, and then but you're actually choosing to spend time with me, and it's very heartwarming. And I really enjoy that. And if you have any comments below, even if they're corrections, or if you think I'm wrong about something, or whatever, I do not delete any comments, and I won't get argumentative, because, we're all comic readers. So, enjoy, and have a great day.